Well, has anyone told you you look like your dog? But of course, only in the most complimentary way. Renata Roma is a postdoctoral fellow and research associate at the University of Saskatchewan. She works with the Pawsitive Connections Lab there. That's PAWS. And she's been combing through the research to find out if our dogs really are our doppelgangers, and if so, why. And Renata joins us now to tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning, Adam.
Renata, you're the one we have to thank for for this topic. What inspired you to look into this?
Yeah, I wrote this article for the conversation because my research is about synchrony between people and animals. So I have been reading a lot about research on similarities and resemblance between people and animals and dogs. So that's why I wrote this article, but I haven't been conducting studies on this topic. What I know from research and we know is that there are several aspects that we can see, and there are some similarities that are identified in research when we ask people to look at people and their dogs. So it could be something more internal, like personality traits, behaviors. Some people that have higher levels of extroversion, they talk about having dogs who are more high energy. We also have aspects related to appearance. I had 3 dogs in my life. All of them have long ears. And according to some studies, people with long hair, like me, they prefer dogs with long ears. So it could be that this is the fact, like something that affects my perception without, like maybe I'm not aware, but maybe this plays a role. Other studies talk about looking at the dog's eyes and your eyes because the similarity is there. So we have different studies that show that yes, we can find similarities between people and animals, even if we ask someone who doesn't know the dog and the person, they are able to match correctly pictures of dogs and their owners, which is something very fascinating, I think.
With your animals, did you start to think, oh, maybe there's something here that I hadn't thought about?
Yeah. It's very interesting because I always loved Cocker Spaniels, and I don't know if you can see, but like my eyes are a little bit droopy in the corner, so maybe there's something there. I can see similarities with my dogs, but I have 3. So I think that when we consider similarities, some people have more than one animal, and they likely will create connections and will see similarities in different levels. They might think, oh, this dog is so gentle. It's something that I also see in myself. This other is so high energy. It's something that I also see here. So we will try to find ways and things in our dogs that will help us to create this sense of synchrony when we are with them. And it could be about some traits of personality. Sometimes it's about appearance. It could be for different reasons.
Yeah, we were talking about this before with some of my colleagues here about personality being one thing that they tie maybe their animal to. Is that something that comes up more and more when you research this?
Yeah, in terms of personality, and it's important to say that in many studies, we actually ask people to talk about their perceptions about their dogs. So sometimes people complete questionnaires for themselves and their dogs. So we know that there is this perception of similarity that the person with the dog can feel, but there is something else going on, and that's something we see when we ask other people to rate the similarities in terms of personality traits between some people and others. So as I was mentioning before, in terms of level of energy, we can see similarities, or people who are more anxious, and they also might have dogs with higher level of anxiety. There is something else that it's not necessarily related to personality, but the level of stress, they tend to synchronize over time when you are living with your dog. So there are many factors, and it's really difficult to point out and say this is the only reason for this perception of resemblancy that we see.
And I think maybe the other perception that's changing, if someone says you look like your pet, it may not be an insult.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it is, but sometimes they are saying, hey, you are someone that helps me to feel connected, or whatever they might be. Yeah, it could be a compliment as well.
Renata, what's next for you?
I want to make sure that I will study synchrony also, because it's okay if people are similar or not, but what we want to know is why this matters and how this can have an impact in our relationships with our pets. So I want to see if this can help people to have a greater sense of well-being and what type of impacts this can have on the dog. Just one thing, like we don't want to project on our dogs human-like characteristics. So even when we talk about similarities, it's important to have in mind that they are dogs. So I want to make sure that this balance is also take into consideration in studies.
And was one of your pets more like you than the other?
Certainly, yes. And in some ways, it's not for good reasons. Like my dog is always like bothering and like so energetic, and sometimes I am like him. My other dog is so calm, but she's I'm not going to talk about myself, but yes, in some ways I like it, and in some ways I'm like, I should improve this. So looking at my dogs and seeing things that I see myself, I think helps me to be more aware of things that I need to work on sometimes.
Renata, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck with all your research, and really had fun with this one today.
Thank you so much for having me.